Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I see we have a couple of you joining, guests and Sheena. So welcome to this presentation. It will be shared by me, with who is the accessibility planner for the City of Vancouver. My name is Karen Lai, and I go by she, her pronoun. Um, and myself and my colleagues, Leila and Katia, who work in emergency management, they'll all be doing an overarching presentation on the accessibility strategy for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll let my teammates do the rest of the presentation as well. And feel free to ask questions or comments if you want further information on anything. And I'll just go over. Why can it move forward? Let me stop sharing. Sorry, technical difficulties. Let me try this again. There. Sorry, it works now. This one that you take a moment to recognize where I am calling in for. I'm situated on the land of the Musqueam Laywoods did common Nathan and building their relationship with the three key host Nathan is at the core of what we do. And so just wanted to acknowledge the land that we are on, and we are so grateful for it. So this is a brief overview of the accessibility strategy the City of Vancouver has been developing a citywide accessibility strategy for the past few years. It was actually directed from council in 2018 to develop the phase one and to convene an accessibility task force would actually guide the work of the accessibility strategy. So it had many stops along the way, depending on staff, depending on resources. So we finally got it back up and running in 2021, where we did a interim report. We did a few administrative tasks. We did a very focused community engagement to develop phase one of this strategy. Then we reported an internal council report to give council an update of what happened during this time. We continued working with the accessibility task force, and we built the internal working group. Building a citywide policy is important to um, get the other departments on board in terms of making the accessibility is citywide. And then phase one of the accessibility strategy. Oh, Laura, welcome with the middle of the way, but hi, Laura. Um, so, so, phase one of the accessibility strategy passed in July of last year. So now we're on phase two. We just completed the broader engagement of phase two. The broader engagement means that we went back out into the community with what we've done from phase one. And we wanted to make sure, have we got it right? Are we missing anything? So that was the purpose of the broader engagement with the community. We always like to go back and forth with the community, keeping at the center folks with disabilities at the heart of the accessibility strategy. As I mentioned, we did an interim report for council back in November of 2021, and we presented with them 5 accessibility commitments, and it passed, council passed, and they are respecting the rights, dignity, and independence of persons with disabilities over their life course. Fostering a safe environment where all people feel valued, included, and a sense of belonging. Number 3, creating opportunities for persons with disabilities to be involved in decision making and participate fully in all aspects of city life. Number 4, demonstrating how the knowledge and perspective of persons with disabilities are integrated across all city processes, policies, and decision making. And number 5, listening to and addressing the needs of persons with disabilities in program services and particular infrastructure. I read these 5 accessibility commitments out purposely because these are what ground the work of the accessibility strategy. I'm sure you're all familiar with the legal legislation supporting this work, going nationally, internationally, but focusing more on at home in the Accessible PT Act and the Canada Accessibility Act. The Canada Accessibility Act came in 2021, and the Be Acceptable BD Act came last year. Couple requirements that the BD Act requiring is to build an accessibility plan, the ongoing accessibility committee, and the ongoing public feedback mechanism. What was nice about the city's role in creating an accessibility strategy is that council actually directed us before the Accessibility Act came into play. So we were already on our way, and now it's more of an impetus to get that going. So right now we are recruiting members of for the accessibility committee. Briefly, we did a whole in-depth community engagement for both phase 1 and phase 2. Like I said, phase 2 was more targeted community engagement. Phase 2 was a broader engagement, and accessibility consideration was at the center of all of our engagement. Like I mentioned, phase 1 was approved in July of last year, and the whole theme of their strategy was about attitude change, changing the culture, challenging the ableist culture, and so that's why we titled it transforming attitude, embedding change. So we did included in the accessibility strategy, we included 8 different focus areas, and they range from built environment, transportation, housing, information and communication, employment, governance and engagement, capacity and elaboration. And then the number 8 is advocacy and working with other orders of government. The first 7 of the focus areas fall in line quite well with the Accessible BC Act. Then the 8th focus area where we talk about advocacy and work with others came from the community engagement, and many members mentioned issues with trans-link, issues with schools. We know that the city doesn't have jurisdiction on trans-link and all the other parts of the running of the city, but we have a role to play in building partnerships with transportation, with Vancouver School Board, with the federal government. So what is why we added a focus area. Then now we're on phase 2, which is focusing a lot on meeting the requirements of the federal, of the provincial accessible PT Act, which means establishing an accessible committee and a public feedback mechanism. So as it mentioned, if you are interested in being more involved in the development of this strategy and being on the committee, I will put in the chat box my contact information because we are recruiting for members for the accessibility committee right now until August 31st. And then the second point is working with departments to develop the multi-year action plan and working to develop the public feedback mechanism and working alongside with community organizations to support the goal of this strategy. One of the key elements that we have discovered from the broader engagement that was just completed in June was the issue of emergency management and outreach to networks. The with why the collaboration today with my colleagues about the now that we're in a heat wave, the perfect conversation to do that. The thank you all, and I'll pass it over to my colleagues, Layla and Patty.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Karen. Everyone, my name is Lila Darwish, and I work at the City of Vancouver with Karen for the Vancouver Emergency Management Agency, and I'm going to share my screen. And while I'm doing that, Kathy is just going to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us here today. My name is Katya Tynan, and I work in the Vancouver Emergency Management Agency as well. I'm mostly going to be listening today and answering questions if there are any at the end.
Great. So we have a quick little presentation on extreme heat because, as Karen mentioned, we are in a heat wave. A short one, hopefully, but one that we just want to make sure folks have information and what they need to kind of feel a bit cooler as we go through it. So just starting, as Karen also mentioned, we are gathered here on the unceded territories of Coast Salish First Nations. The Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations is where we do our work and where we live, and we just want to give thanks and honor the peoples of this land, because as said, it is at the root of our work, and also so much of the climate issues in terms of extreme heat and things that we're seeing are a direct result of colonialism, and want to also name that as we kind of speak to things around extreme heat. Now, as y'all know, it's hot. We are dealing with hotter and drier summers as a result of climate change. There's been, different studies that have shown that kind of as we move forward, we're getting more frequent heat waves. We are getting hotter days, and that is having impacts on us and people in the community. A lot of the work for City of Vancouver around extreme heat really came to the forefront in the aftermath of the heat dome in 2021. Due to the impacts it had in terms of fatalities and kind of people lacking access to kind of cooling supports. And there's been a lot of work done since to try to support more access to kind of cooling centers, kind of in-home cooling supports and things like that. But we know that heat does not affect everybody equally, depending on our age, whether we have health conditions, what kind of housing we're living in, do we have access to an air conditioner? Those all make a really big difference as to how a heat wave feels. And we're going to talk about a few ways to potentially support kind of going forward. Now, just because we are dealing with some heat right now, we're in a heat warning, which means that we're having temperatures above 29 degrees. our nights aren't getting as cool as we'd like them to get, and that's going to go on this week until about Wednesday. And it's going to start cooling off a little bit on Thursday, and then we'll be kind of back in kind of more seasonable temperatures by Friday, just to kind of keep that awareness that, you know, when we have a lot of heat, people can experience different symptoms. We have things like heat exhaustion and then heat stroke, which is far more serious. But just kind of be on the lookout for yourself and for others around you. You know, if you start seeing things like, you know, lots of sweating, you're having a headache, you know, you're really thirsty, you know, you're not feeling well, your heartbeat, you know, just different things like that. You know, try to find ways to cool yourself down or try to get support. You know, you can call, you know, 911 if you're really not feeling well. You can reach out to people in your network. Heat stroke is far more serious, and that's when we get to a certain level in our body where we really, really need to get medical attention. And you can see some of the symptoms of heat stroke there in terms of really hot red skin. People are feeling very confused, a really high body temperature, a lack of sweating, and a few other things. And at that point, it's definitely a 911 call if you are dealing with kind of that heat stroke. Now, just a few tips to stay kind of ahead of that. Drinking lots of water and fluids when we're in a time like this, trying to stay hydrated. Cool fluids, especially. If your home is not cool, if you don't have air conditioning or you don't have kind of some kind of passive natural cooling that's keeping your space cool and comfortable, please consider going to cooler spaces like libraries, community centers, shaded parks, pools. There might be a shopping center near you that has air conditioning, a friend or a family member's home. If you're in an apartment building, there might be a common room with air conditioning. Please consider moving to that to kind of stay healthy and kind of keep ahead of any kind of heat illness. And one thing to be aware of is you have the opportunity to monitor the temperature in your home, kind of when it's about 31 degrees or higher. You want to definitely get out and find a cooler place to be. And for some people, depending on their medical situation, indoor temperatures of 26 degrees can also be dangerous. So when it starts to get hot, you can't find that cool place to go, really want to encourage you to seek out cooler locations. A few other hacks, cool towels, ice packs, you know, putting your feet in cold water. Those can all help kind of cool the body a little bit. Misting with cold water can help as well. And then again, try to check in with people in your life. You know, if you know someone who you're worried about, make sure that, you know, you're calling them to see if they're okay. If there's people who you want to have call you, maybe let them know. And during a heat time, it's a good time to do it. And there are organizations, we'll talk a little bit later about, who will do wellness checks. Who might give you a call or come by and knock on your door. And if that's something that would help you, it's a really good thing to sign up for. Now, from the city perspective, we have a bunch of different supports that we offer. You know, cooling centers, there's pools and community parks and places that have shade. We have misters and fountains and hand washing stations throughout the city. And we also deploy kind of a bit extra during heat events. There's bottled water distribution in certain locations. And our organization, we distribute cool kits through different neighborhood houses and community partners to kind of provide a little bit of that in-home cooling support. We also work with a lot of community organizations to kind of extend cooling support and programming. Now, I mentioned cooling centers a few times, and these are for the City of Vancouver cooling centers in particular. These are libraries and community centers. And you can see from the map kind of where those different little snowflakes are. Those are the locations of different libraries and cooling centers. In heat events, those are places that have air conditioning. They are free to sit and to kind of, you know, take time to cool down in. And most of the community centers will accept pets. So if you are home and it's too hot and you have a pet and you're worried about them too, you can bring them to a community center that is a cooling center, with the exception of the Evelyn Solar and Carnegie community centers. They don't accept pets, and the libraries don't as well. But we have a lot of other community centers that do. We really encourage people to go to these centers if they can, if things are getting too hot. There's water, there's access to bathroom, and most importantly, there's air conditioning. And there's a map that you can go and kind of click on each of these icons, and it will tell you their hours that they're open, as well as kind of their accessibility. And that's important information. Now, we're not dealing with wildfire smoke right now, thankfully, but sometimes when we have extreme heat, we also have wildfire smoke. And sometimes we have wildfire smoke in the summer without extreme heat. And so just wanted to flag that we also have, during times where we have really bad air quality due to wildfire smoke, the City of Vancouver has cleaner air spaces. And these are, you can see from the list there, a bunch of the community centers that are listed: Carnegie Community Center, Evelyn Solar, Gathering Place, Creekside, Hillcrest, West End, and Mount Pleasant, as well as certain libraries, the Mount Pleasant branch, Britannia branch, Central Library, Joe Fortis, Kerrisdale, Renfrew, and Terry Solomon. These are all locations that have really good air filtration. So if you are dealing with smoke or really bad air quality due to wildfire and you need a place to go to just get some good air, these are places, again, that you can go and they're free, and people are happy to kind of welcome you in and give you that space to have a little bit of relief. So wanted to share that as well. In terms of in-home supports, I mentioned something called pool kits. So the City of Vancouver, this is the second year now, but we actually distribute these kits that are low tech, low barrier, kind of little cooling equipment and hacks to help kind of keep the body temperature down. And these kits, we've been distributing them to different neighborhood houses, as well as several other community organizations. So if you're interested in kind of getting one, for next year or whatever, please connect with a neighborhood house. That's a really good way to kind of get on the list to get a pool kit. We got about 2,000 out this year, and really just as additional support for staying cool. Another interesting initiative that we are supporting, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later, is that we are working with Praxis Spinal Cord Research Institute, and they are doing some really great work right now where they're testing different kind of aspects of our pool kits as well as other mechanical cooling devices to make sure that they're accessible and to find ones that are more accessible to a broad range of different people with different disabilities. And so hopefully the information we get from that means that next year we're going to be able to offer pool kits that are having different items in there that might actually be more helpful and more useful to folks in the community. I mentioned neighborhood level supports. A lot of the neighborhood houses throughout the City of Vancouver do really great work around cool programming, distributing cool kits, and wellness checks, as well as doing kind of heat workshops. And so if there is a neighborhood house in your area, connect with them, and there's a lot of neat work that they can do and support, as well as transportation and a few other things. And one of the neat things that we're doing this year, which has been very much something that Kathy has been working on, is these DIY air filter workshops with Simon Fraser University and the BC CDC, getting folks together to make kind of their own air filters to help when it comes to wildfire smoke. Now, cool kits, just so you know, within a cool kit, we usually have like an indoor thermometer that people can kind of put in their home so they know what temperature it is and they know when it's a good time to kind of maybe seek cooling elsewhere if the home is too hot. There's a small tote, and that's for kind of a cooling foot bath. We put in a cooling towel, a gel compress for an ice pack to kind of keep you cool, a water bottle, and then a spray bottle for kind of, again, that misting to help kind of drop the temperature. Now, I mentioned this, and this is another really interesting opportunity if you are looking for any kind of cool, free equipment. Praxis Spinal Cord Institute has a project right now called SCI Climate Futures, and they are funded by BC Hydro and working with the Technology for Living organization to basically, test a bunch of different cooling equipment to work for a variety of different physical disabilities. And right now, you can see there's a link there. If you are interested, they have several different devices that they are kind of giving out for free for folks who have disabilities and are interested in kind of receiving one of these cooling devices. All you have to do is fill out the online survey, which is listed below. And I think Kathy is going to pop into the chat. And depending on kind of what your needs are, there's 3 different products that you'll be mailed. There's a hybrid evaporative kind of cooling vest, which is a kind of a vest that has like the ability to kind of keep you cool. There's a lightweight kind of phase change vest, which is a little bit different, but kind of similar concept. And then there's these neck air conditioners. And again, all of these are not the same as actually getting an actual air conditioner or a heat pump, but they're meant to help kind of decrease some of the physical discomfort with heat. So if you are interested, please apply. I think the application is open for this week, maybe not so far beyond that, but a really neat opportunity to get extra support with cooling. Another interesting opportunity that folks I'm sure have heard about on the news, if you are looking for a free air conditioner, which is really helpful when it comes to heat waves, the government of BC announced back in June funding to BC Hydro to provide a limited number of free portable air conditioning to people in the community, especially those who are disproportionately impacted by extreme heat. And in order to get a free air conditioner, there's certain income kind of qualifications. You have to have a, below a certain amount, and you can find the website. Kathy's going to put the information in the chat as well, and that can kind of tell you whether you kind of meet the income qualification. But if that isn't kind of what is qualifying for you, also, if you are considered medically heat vulnerable due to any kind of health condition, you can also be eligible to get one of these free air conditioners. And all you would need would be a recommendation letter from your home health clinician or community health nurse to apply. It's a fairly simple online application. So far, I think they have something like 8,000 air conditioners, and they've received about 3,000 applications. So I would say apply now, apply early. The kind of wait list in terms of how long it's taking those air conditioners to get out, it's not immediate, but to get your name on the list means you might have one for next summer, which is important, especially as we tend to get hotter when it comes to climate change. Also, mentioned this earlier, but City of Vancouver, we work with a lot of community partners. In the past couple of years, we've worked with, different neighborhood houses, the Aboriginal Friendship Center, folks like the SRO Collaborative, Reach, a lot of different great organizations that are doing wonderful work when it comes to cooling and who offer neat support. So as I mentioned earlier, some of these organizations will offer wellness checks. You can get on a list where they will call you when it's hot and have volunteers check in with you. Some actually distribute pool kits and evaporative coolers and fans for free. Some will actually pick people up and take them to, cooler spaces, whether it's a cooling center or even something like a lake or a park. So there's a lot of different neat initiatives that are happening in the community and being led by community organizations. So we'd really encourage, again, if there's one that you already are familiar with or you haven't kind of connected with yet, please reach out and find a way to kind of take advantage of some of these great cooling supports. Before we kind of move into questions, I'm sure there may be some, just wanted to share that the organization that Kathy and I work for, the Vancouver Emergency Management Agency, we work on a lot of different hazards for the City of Vancouver. Right now, we're talking about heat and air quality a little bit because we are in summer and those are the prime focus, especially since we're in a heat wave at present. But the city has a lot of other things that affect it and ways that, communities experience disruptions and kind of stresses. And so everything from earthquake to flooding to winter storms, power outages, fires, these are all things that we're working on. And so if that is something you ever want to learn more about, you want our team to come and give a presentation on any of these, we're happy to talk about them. And we're also always looking for kind of comments and to hear from the community about how, if you have any concerns about this, if there's anything we could be doing that would actually make you feel more supported, we would love to hear that. So everything from heat to cold, we are interested in kind of engaging on that front. Final thing I'll say, if you want more information on cooling, there are kind of, as I mentioned, there's a map that has all the different locations of misters and pools and cooling centers online. Kathy already put that link probably in the chat, but also on our website, we have translated materials. So in multiple different languages, if there's any kind of posters and things you want on heat and cooling tips, that is all online that can be printed and downloaded. And then another way to kind of stay in touch and kind of get news from the city when it comes to different emergencies or things like heat waves and wildfire and air quality, we have an emergency alert system called Alertable. And you can basically download, it's an application, you can download it on your phone. And so when we have events like heat warnings and things like that, you'll get notification with information about where to seek cooling supports and a bunch of other things. So I highly recommend if you have the opportunity to sign up for the alert system, allows us to kind of stay in contact with you. And that's it. Thank you so much. I guess time for questions.